Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So, Jada Bharata, now we had seen last time. Just quick recap. Bharat Maharaj, who then went for performing austerities into the Pulushra ashram, but where he got attached to the deer and he started neglecting his spiritual life. And because of that, then he was so attached that his attention was diverted. And at the time of death, when he has to remember Krishna, but what he remembered is the deer. Yeah. And according to the Bhagavad Gita, the law of last thought, he became the deer in his next life. Right. So, as a deer in his next life, but he had a good one thing is he could able to recollect everything of his past life. Why? Because he had performed some level of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna's gift that he could remember everything from the past life, what are the mistakes he had done. And that's how he was trying to again correct himself properly. So he was again taking the association, hearing, and following all possible things, and taking a was very alert in not to again misled into any accident. And after that, after that deer died, he became Jada Bharata. Third life was Jada Bharata. And Jada Bharata, as the name suggests, he was little like a acting like a dumb and dull, so that the people don't bother him with the nonsense things, with the unnecessary forwarded emails and WhatsApp messages, which are of no use, but collecting and eating up our data and space, right? So he was not wanted to bother about all them, and that's why he's acting like that. So his stepbrothers neglected him, and he was acting like a scarecrow. And after that, he was caught by the dacoits because they wanted somebody as a Narabali for Kali. So they were the Kali worshippers. And when they caught Jada Bharat, so and Jada Bharat was very detached. He said, "Okay, oh Lord, I'm dependent upon you." And as the Kali, the goddess Kali, saw his worshippers are cutting actually Jada Bharat, who is a wonderful devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, right? Kali came out of that deity and actually killed all those dacoits. She killed all her worshippers, right, to save Jada Bharat. And from there we start. Jada Bharat, after escaping from the dacoits, he was just roaming around, passing around. That was the time King Rahuguna is one of the great king. He was from the Soviet region. He was going on a palanquin. Palanquin means palki. Right? So he was going on a palanquin. The four people were carrying him, but they were four so tired, and they required one more help. So they were looking for who could be the better choice. So as they were looking for, they found Jada Bharat, who was little stout. And, he was acted like an ox because सिर्फ खा के बैठना है, ज्यादा कुछ किससे इंटरेक्ट नहीं करता था, इसलिए थोड़ा वो हो गया था, फूल गया था थोड़ा सा. So so they found Jada Bharata and they thought he is a very good choice, and that's how they opted him and asked him to carry the palanquin. But Jada Bharata, he immediately followed the order, whatever somebody said to him. He followed the orders. And but when they were started walking, these four people are carrying the king on the palanquin on their shoulders. Jada Bharata used to see below that there are certain ants moving around, some insects moving around. So as soon as he used to see, he used to step aside or jump over them or want to not step over any insects or uh, ants or any living things. Why? Like, what is the scene in that?
Killing anyone unnecessarily is a sin.
Killing animal is an unnecessary sin. Okay. Okay. Something more? Okay. Very good. He didn't want to injure any other soul. Okay. Because everybody is a child of the Supreme Father, as we are, right? Like we have a certain relationship with our own relatives, friends, family members, right? So in one sense, when we consider the Supreme Father, right, we all have a brotherhood. So universal brotherhood, however people may say, it cannot happen unless they bring the Supreme Father in a picture, isn't it? Otherwise, it's not possible. Artificially just imagining the universal brotherhood is not possible. So only when somebody thinks that we are all children of that Supreme Father, then it can be possible. So as he was not wanting to kill anybody, he was just stepping over. And by this, what is happening? There was a sudden jolt, jerk, the palanquin, and those palanquin didn't had shock absorbers. So Rahuguna was getting the shocks, like jerks. So as he was getting the jerks, so Rahuguna became a little upset. What is happening? Why are all these things happening? You know, everything was going so well. What is happening now? Let me tell you why Rahuguna was going there. Rahuguna was going there to hear from the great sages at the Kapila ashram. And he was supposed to be carried by the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas he should be carried. So, so it didn't work out. So basically, he wanted to uplift himself in his spiritual life. That's why they go to the hearing from the sages, right? You don't go to the sages to just take their opinion, or you just don't just take their blessings for my own selfish purposes. Right? Sages are not meant to just take the some selfish opinions. You come inside. So uh, once once Srila Prabhupada was like one of the okay, that incident. I'll just quickly talk about that incident. What was it is? Uh, so this Srila Prabhupada, he wanted he's one of his foreign disciple. He was asking, why are they asking you for Ashirvad, Ashirvad? So Prabhupada said, the Indians have mentality that they just want, whenever they see the sages, they want Ashirvad. Okay. So Prabhupada said to one Indian gentleman, okay, you want my real Ashirvad? He said, yes. So he said, look at all these my disciples. They have given up all their nonsense activities. They have shaven their head and they're chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and doing services in the temple. That's what my Ashirvad. Do you want the Ashirvad? Said, Swamiji, I will come other time. So people have a conception of getting a blessings means I should by taking a blessings I should flourish in my material life, in my money, in my wealth, in my comfort, right? And once I get this all these things done, then I don't care about the temple. Then I really don't care about the spiritual life. I just want my needs to be done, right? When people are just interested in their needs to be satisfied, they're called as selfish. Come on. Don't be so generalized. Okay. So, so So meeting to the sages, what you should inquire is about the spiritual life. So Sanatan Goswami, when he was like a prime minister to the Nawab Hussain Shah in the Bengal 500 years back. Nawab Hussain Shah was ruling a big territory in Bengal, and Sanatan Goswami was acting as a prime minister that time. He had some converted name, Sabir Khas, no, Sabir Malik. Okay, that was his converted name. But he was from the heart. He was very much Vaishnava, but because of the rule and all these things, so he had acquired so much faith into Nawab Hussain Shah acquired so much faith because he was doing his duty so perfectly well. Okay, so that in a first meeting with the Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatan Goswami said, "Oh Lord, how am I? मैं कैसा हूँ?" मतलब ये क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं मुझे पूछना चाहिए हाउ आर यू वो पूछ रहा है हाउ एम आई व्हाट डज दैट मीन
He means that how is he spiritually awakened from his
exactly thank you what's your name
Shailesh.
Okay, thank you Shailesh. So when we are talking about the spiritual life, how am I, how is my soul? So when you go to the doctor, he checks your pulse, he checks you and then he says अच्छा ये ठीक नहीं हो रहा है ये ठीक नहीं हो रहा है then you inquire ये कैसा है मेरा ये कैसा है ये कैसा है so you inquire about your body when you meet the sages what you should inquire how am I at a spirit soul, right? How is my spiritual life going? Actually my identity is a spirit soul and body is just a covering, right? So I should be giving a good attention to the soul, right? We give in our daily activities and daily routines we give so much time for our body which is necessary. But comparatively, we should give a good time for our soul. So when we ask people to chant, they say, "Samay nahi hai, samay nahi hai." Arey, are you not eating for your body? है ना? Food दे रहे हो ना body के लिए to sustain it. Same way, chanting will sustain your spirit soul, right? That is a nourishment. That is a food for the soul. Hearing such a topics, reading from Bhagavad Gita and scriptures like that, even the small books of Prabhupada, reading that is a nourishment to the soul. It doesn't take much time. Put into your habits. Somewhere you put you into habits and just see. This works like anything, right? Take my words in writing if you want. But this works like a magic. People have transformed so much into their life just by connecting with their spirit soul. All right? Okay. So King Rahuguna was going there to understand more about the spirit soul. Can you turn on that light also? Yeah, turning. Okay. And so then King Rahuguna became very upset and he started asking them, four members, what happened? So far going so well, what happened? Then they have to reply, this new fellow whom we recruited is creating the troubles. So King Rahuguna saw it towards him. He was healthy like an ox. Then King Rahuguna thought, okay, how do I address them? King Rahuguna said, he wanted to angrily chastise Jada Bharat, but sarcastically he said, oh, you weak, skinny fellow, you must be tired. Is that it? And that's why you're not able to uh, carry this palanquin properly. So actually, he was sarcastically humiliating Jadabharata, calling him a thin man. And you are carrying for a long distance. Actually, he just started. And you must be weak. You look like an old man. You look very old, but he was very young. Right? But he looked like, he addressed him like a old. So Jadabharata, to his response, he was not affected. He didn't respond. Right? This is a sign of intelligent people, thoughtful people. They don't immediately respond, right? And they can digest. And spiritual minded people, they can digest all these insults and wrong speaking, whatever is being done to them. Buddha was once traveling with his all disciples, and somebody mm, on the roadside, he was giving all bad words to Buddha, and this disciple said, "If you just allow me, I will give him back in a good way. Just allow me." So Buddha said, "Why? Because he's giving you bad words." He says, "Okay, if he's," then he showed his the kamandalu, whatever he had, and he said, "Okay, if I want to give it to you this, but you don't accept this kamandalu, then whom it belongs to?" He said, "It will be in your hand if I'm not accepting it. It will be with you only." He said, "If he's giving me bad words, I am not accepting it. With whom the bad words remain?" Right? So why should we bother? If I have not accepted the bad words, why should we bother? These are thoughtful, intelligent people are. So Jada Bharat, he remained unaffected. What is this? Jada Bharat, who understood he is a his true spiritual identity as a spirit soul, knew that he was not his body. What Rahuguna is pointing to him as a bodily level, right? So he know that I'm not this body. Why should I bother? Isn't it? So therefore, Jada Bharata remained unaffected by the king's angry criticism, and he could easily tolerate. And that's why identifying with a spirit soul can teach you a greater degree of tolerance, right? A greater degree of tolerance. So, because in the heart of heart, he was remembering Vasudev, Lord Krishna, into his heart. So now, king became further angry because he's not responding. So he became further angry and he shouted, "You rascal, what are you doing? Right? Don't you know I'm your master? I'm your master. And for your disobedience, I shall punish you. I'm your master, I'm the king. For this disobedience, I will punish you." So, okay, here comes the quiz. Are you ready? Quiz number 19. How could Jadabharata remain unaffected by king's angry criticism? All of you have that link, right? Or you may have to put as a 1.9. Huh? How could Jadabharata remain unaffected by king's angry criticism? There could be multiple answers. Are you in the group? Okay, Vishal. Okay. Right. So नेटवर्क नहीं है जियो जियो का नहीं है I'm surprised. Jio should be there. So just ask him, he will forward you the link. Can you forward it? Oh, you did repost that? Did you? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Vansh posted it, right? 1.9 because I didn't change that. Unaffected by king's angry criticism, he knew that he is a soul different from the body, like an operator of a car different from the car. A. What do you say? Exactly. Spirit soul is different from the car. That was the same analogy we used into our device course, soul, right? When we were talking about the soul. Yes. B. He knew that Rahuguna was a king of a Savira, and it was the best not to rebel against a king. False. He was not a fearful. He was not fearful of dacoits when they raised their swords, right? He was not fearful of that. See, just now he escaped with his life from the dacoits. He thought, why to again create another risk? False. D. He was not the body that Rahuguna was insulting. What did Rahuguna say? You are thick, you are weak, you are old, you are tired, yeah, skinny. Therefore, he had no reason to be agitated. Exactly. He said he is referring to my body, not to me. I'm different from the body. And that's why the correct answers are good. A and D. Okay. So when when uh, Jada Bharata, uh, okay, okay. So when King Rahuguna was asking these things, Jada Bharata again started saying why. Then Jada Bharata thought of speaking something. So he spoke. Okay. He said the body which you are referring as a fat or a thin or a weak or a strong, but no learned man would say such a things about the real soul within, right? Because I'm spirit soul, I'm not bothered, and no real person will talk about such a things, right? So there is a interesting conversation which he makes. Can somebody read this? You think Huh? You think you are the Lord and Master, and you are therefore trying to command me. But this is also incorrect because these positions are temporary. Today okay, okay, wait. So you may think you are the boss now, right? You may think you are having a power and control now, right? But thinking like this is also incorrect because everything is so temporary in this nature, right? Somebody is a chief minister and then he's taken out of his post and somebody else rises, right? And there had been so many people who were thinking that they had the absolute power and absolute control. They were thinking so, but that was a biggest illusion they thought, right? Because there was always anybody who start thinking I am the Lord and Master, not possible. Everything is so temporary in nature, isn't it? All positions are so temporary in nature, right? After all, you know, after somebody's term finishes, he has to step down from that chair, isn't it? Yeah. Nobody can remain for forever. Right? But over a period, what happens? They become so attached, or so attached to that chair, then only death will eject them out. Right? So something like that. So okay, what? Today you are a king and I am your servant, but in our next life our position may be reversed. Okay, today you may be thinking like this, but in the next moment we may reverse our roles, right? You are acting as a masters and can command me, but in next life we can be reverse. You can be acting as a servant, right? A simple example. There was one of our student who joined us some small job and started working on the small place. So his boss was always torturing him, always like pricking him, you know, pinpointing even the small issues within him. He became really fed up with him, and he thought, hey, let me just give up. But somehow he continued his duty well. And just over a year, what happened? He rose to the position greater than him. Now that boss is now reporting to him, right? Just see, exactly reverse the rules, right? Exactly reverse. Comebacks. Yeah. Okay. So, so this kind of things may happen, and the Vedas explains that a human being in a material world are just actors on the stage, just actors on the stage. Right now, they're acting in some way. On other time, they will act on something, right? on one stage, that one actor may be playing the role of a master, but in another role, he may become just a servant, right? One time He may be playing a Shahenshah, another time he just becomes a coolie, Amitabh Bachchan, right? So they are actually, nobody's a master and servant here, right? Because we know these positions are temporary, right? So actually, if we are the servant of the Supreme Lord. He is the supreme master of everybody, right? That's the point. He's the supreme director. So in the same way, all living entities are the servant of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And that was his instruction. Jada Bharat spoke elaborately, instructing King Rahuguna. No, at not this point of time. When King Rahuguna hears this from Jada Bharat, she got surprised. He looks like a very kind of a beggar or something. But he's speaking of such a knowledgeous things, right? And the photograph shows there's like a lot of details which what Jada Bharat speaks to King Rahuguna, right? Bhagavatam describes a lot of details. So, can somebody else read this?
King Rahuguna, who had been trained in spiritual science, was astonished to
Astonished.
astonished to hear the teachings of Jada Bharat. Recognizing him as a saintly person, the king quickly descended from the palanquin. He gave up his material conception of being a great monarch and he offered auspicities and inquired from him submissively.
Okay. So he now understood because he had some spiritual substance. He knew spiritual science, and that's why he could recognize this is a no ordinary man. He's a learned man, right? Right. So the pupil in this world, if you go out in Bombay and start speaking about something, right? They consider you as a Gaya Guzra, spiritual life, spiritual life. So one time when I was a student like you, I was chanting in a bus, the bit bag man, and the neighboring person said, "अच्छा, तो सब कुछ छोड़ दिया?" मैंने सिर्फ बिड बैग हाथ में पकड़ा है, तो उससे ऊपर से उसने निष्कर्ष निकाला सब कुछ छोड़ दिया. I was studying and I was getting good marks. I was telling him. तो उनका what they think is जब लोगों को कुछ करने के लिए नहीं रहता है तभी वो spirituality के लिए जाते हैं, right? That's the point only. That's the only time they go to the spiritual, but that's not the point. Okay. I'll just reconnect. Yeah. So I was once giving a Bhagavad Gita. We have a December marathon. We like distribute Bhagavad Gitas. We sell basically Bhagavad Gita. So I was doing that in a local chain when I was going back to my place. And that time I was like, I was in short time. I was not a joint. I was like working. I was doing that. And there was one more vendor into the local chain. And he was also selling some kind of books or something he was selling. So I thought, okay, I saved my energy. Let him speak first and go. So that I don't have to raise my voice over him. Let him go. So he went he started from that compartment and went to the end of it. Then I started asking everybody, okay, Bhagavad Gita and these things. I was explaining them about the importance of Bhagavad Gita. And then I came to the end. He was just looking at me and saying, okay, how much do you get? So he was saying, okay, so why don't you join me? कितना पैसा मिलता है? मैं देता हूँ तुमको. Why don't you join me? So people think, they cannot understand the spirituality is such a selflessness. Right? They just identify something to the as a business dealing of this world, right? So only those who have the spiritual vision, who knew about something spirituality, he can identify who is a devotee, right? Not otherwise. And that's why you see most of the people they don't understand and identify somebody as a devotee, right? By his character, by his good work, right? So they always have their own spectacles and visions tainted with so many things. Okay, anyway, so was coming to the point of, because he had a spiritual vision, that's why he could understand. He is a something great sage. He is not a something any ordinary person. And he was bowing down to him, offering obeisances, and now he was inquiring submissively. That's what we should be doing whenever we meet some learned, spiritually learned personalities, right? What we should do? We ask them, how are you? How am I? Right? Very good. How am I? What I should improve in my life? How my spiritual elevation should happen? Right? They were submissively inquiring. Now, what does a submissive inquiry means? Inquiring is just asking a question, but what does a submissive inquiry means? Okay. Bhagavati dases tadvitti paripadena pariprashnena sevaya. Pariprashnena sevaya. You inquire, but submissively, in the sense, not challenging way. Like, not like a news debates. Right? They are like, attacking over each other. Submissive inquiry means actually you should render service to the spiritual master, right? And then hear and understand. Actually, it means hear and understand and apply in a life. That is called a submission. Apply in your life to see the transformation. This knowledge is not a knowledge, a bookish knowledge which you keep in your head, right? Like what happens in academic knowledge, you keep in your head and then vomit it out in an exam, then forgotten. और पिछले सेमेस्टर में क्या था कुछ याद में भी नहीं आता है फिर, right? But it's not a bookish knowledge, right? We have to apply it in our life. That is called as a submissive inquiry. You inquire and whatever you understood, you should apply it in your life and see the result in yourself, right? That's it. That's a practicality. So he actually caught the feet of Jada Bharat, and he was uh, then he was inquiring, how can I be liberated? So Vedas declare that everyone, even the kings, must approach a spiritual master to gain the knowledge of the soul and process of reincarnation. Like for any other knowledge, how did you learn mathematics? How did you learn your literatures? How did you learn the history and geography? Right? To going at some institute, inquiring to the teachers, right? And then that's how you learned it, right? Same way, spiritual science is not just that it will come by its own, right? You have to inquire. Even the kings has to approach a spiritual master, right, to gain that knowledge, right? Uh, Such a kings who had been ruling with keeping a dharma into the center, religiosity into the center, they could rule such a wonderfully. Like they are called as the Raja Rishis. Bharat was one of the such a Raja Rishis, as I said. King Shivaji was also one of the Raja Rishis. He was guided by, yes, Sant Tukaram. Right. Samrat Ashok was guided by, okay. Okay. So, Sant Tukaram was guiding King Shivaji and he was giving him proper direction. So, there is a lot of abilities and administrative powers in them, but that energy need to be channelized. That has to be given a direction, right? Like a boat, it has the ability to run, right? But a captain is there to direct him, right? Right. That's how we are like in that boat. And who is the captain? Is a guru who gives us a direction in life, right? Who gives a direction in life. So that's important. Even the kings has to take a guidance from spiritual master gurus and gain the knowledge about the soul and process of incarnation. Right? All other knowledges you can get. There are so many institutes available, but spiritual knowledge के लिए इतने institutes नहीं. हर एक लेन में जाओगे तो कोई स्कूल या कॉलेजेस मिलेगा आपको, right? Isn't it? But do we have the institutes where they're talking about the soul? Srila Prabhupada went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. MIT is considered as like the top-notch institute of the world, right? In the technology. You're aware of it, right? MIT. So when he went to the MIT, and then they were like introducing him, these are this department, these are this department. So Prabhupada asked him the questions. Okay, but where is the department of soul? Right? Where is the department of the soul? Where are you teaching that you are not this body, we are spirit soul? Where are you teaching that? Right? So all this teaching is just on a bodily level, but there has to be teaching about the spirit soul. Where are you teaching that? It's not. So that's why then that's why this kind of institutes will act. Now people go to the temples just for what? बेल बजाते हैं, पैसा कुछ डालते हैं, हाथ जोड़ते हैं, राइट, और मांगते हैं, 10 रुपए डालते हैं और 1 लाख बना के देना बाद में। हाँ,
21 दिन में पैसा डाला।
So something like that they go for something like that go, right? But they really have anything to understand what the spiritual knowledge is? Hardly anybody. Bhagavad Gita has been, this knowledge has been talked about from 5,000 years back. How many Indians know? Compared to the other religious systems, they teach their boys from the childhood how to offer the prayers of Bible, how to offer the Quran, namaz, right? So many things they teach from the childhood, right? But hardly any of us from the childhood knew some shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. Even if they knew, they don't know the meaning of it, right? So actually, we should all aspire to gain that spiritual knowledge. So Jada Bharata, although he was appearing like that, the spiritualist actually doesn't make a show off. Okay, they doesn't make a show off, but they show by their action. So Jada Bharata, he showed by his wonderful wisdoms. He showed firstly by his action, by not responding, right, by not arguing back. He showed how tolerant he is, right, how submissive he was, right, and that's why that caught the attention of Rahuguna, right, and then the wisdom which came out of his mouth, Rahuguna was struck with the wonder, right. So that should be, right. We should not just make a show of the things, but we should put ourselves into the actions. Am I right? Okay. Okay. Quiz 20. Still the same network. You can try once. So quiz 20 is, why is the master servant relationship in this material world is illusory? So option A, soul changes body today. Soul changes body today. One who is a king may be servant tomorrow. True. Yes, A is true. All souls are like actors on a drama stage acting as per the director, Supreme Lord. True. See, because sometimes servant overthrows the master and usurps his position like and shame. True. True. Yes. Yeah, because he kind of killed his own father, his own brothers, jailed him and whatever, tortured him, and he became the king, right? He was like all notorious things he did. So, yes, the servant overthrows the master. So it happens many times. D, because servant today gets a promotion and becomes a master tomorrow. That's also true. So all A, B, C, D, all are true. And that's why master and servant relationship in this material world is very illusory, right? We can never know who will be who, right? So we cannot we cannot assume ourselves that I am the masters and I will remain the masters forever, right? So okay, but 21st. What made King Rahuguna descend from his palanquin and fall humbly on ground? Okay, so option A is King felt he could have restrained anger on a citizen, so he felt sorry. Actually, he was not repentant at the first. B, King was already trained in a spiritual science. Yes, that's why he could identify. Option C, King saw that Jada Bharat was a self-realized soul to be respectfully treated as a guru. Yes. So the guru cannot be identified just by the outward dress. It cannot be identified by the long beard or a shaven head or the kind of clothes he is wearing, the color is a saffron. No, these are not the qualification of a guru, but his wisdom, and if he's following his talk. Is he walking his talk? Right? So his spiritual wisdom and following his talk. And that spiritual wisdom is not concocted his own ideas. Huh? It should be coming from the scriptures, right? Otherwise, there are so many people who has concocted their own idea of what spirituality is. Does that make sense? Unless you have some substance, right? One may start his own engineering college, right? Who will join that engineering college? Unless it is approved by AICTE, it will be still considered as a fake, right? Or otherwise, not so good standard, right? Because it is not approved by AICTE or UGC, right? University Grant Commission, right? If it is not approved, then this will not, people will not take the admission into it. Okay. So it has to be approved by somebody. So that spiritual wisdom has to be approved by somebody, not just concocted. Okay. So that is a guru. So we'll discuss in our next series, probably we'll take upon this thing, this topic of a guru. Okay. Spiritual master. The fourth thing is teaching of a fourth option, teaching of a Jada Bharat, where spiritual and no ordinary palanquin carrier can speak them.
True.
Very true, right? Because this was not an ordinary teaching that anybody can give. It was a knowledge, somebody who had a spiritual intelligence and practice that only can speak. So the answers are B, C, and D. So Jada Bharata then explained how the soul, due to uncontrolled mind and ignorance of his identity, wanders in the different spaces of life. After saying that I am not the spirit soul, I am not the body, I am the spirit soul, and whatever we spoke about is the body, but actually I am the spirit soul. After speaking about this, then he explained how actually spirits, this body is temporary in nature, and you take upon the other body, you take upon the other body. Based upon what? How will one take upon the next body? Based upon what? Okay. Desire, last thoughts. Like based upon the desires, he takes upon the next body, right? That's what he mean to say here. The mind is so uncontrolled that he has so many uncontrolled mind means what? So many unnecessary desires, right? And that desires will fructify into what? So many bodies. Yeah? So we if somebody has a desires that I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. Yes, he is making a plan of his next bodies, in what all bodies he will have to wander into. Understand the point? Right? So uncontrolled mind and ignorance of the identity. He is ignorant that I am the spirit soul. If somebody identifies himself as spirit soul, then you will understand all these desires are unnecessary actually. If it is only in relationship with my spirituality, then it makes sense. Otherwise, these are just unnecessary things. Okay. Jada Bharata explained this to the King Rahuguna, and then he said how careful we should be, alert we should be, not to get lost into this world, keeping so many desires. And then he revealed his own past. Can somebody read this?
In a previous birth, I was known as King Bharata. I was fully detached from material activities and engaged in the service of the Lord. But I relaxed my control over my mind and became so attracted to a small deer that I neglected my spiritual duties. At the time of death, I could think of nothing but a deer. So in my next life, I had to accept a body of a deer.
Yes. He is now talking about his own reincarnation story. How he reincarnated into a deer because he was so much attached to that deer. And like on, he told about from that deer, then how he became the Jada Bharata. Okay, so King Rahuguna, when he understood such a wonderful teachings of Jada Bharat, then he got a lot of instructions from Jada Bharat, right? And good teachings to King Rahuguna. Now, what should be done in the assembly of a devotees? When you go in the assembly of devotees, what should be done? King Rahuguna now is meeting a saintly personalities. What should we do when we go to the Sabha of a Vaishnavas, Sabha of the devotees, Sabha of the good sages? So, what we should do when we encounter some saintly personalities? What topic to be discussed? Here it is. Yeah, can you read?
Importance of saintly personality. Jada Bharat concluded that in the assembly of pure devotees, there is no question of discussing material subjects like politics and sociology.
Yeah, we are not for that this thing. Otherwise, ये बनना चाहिए या वो बनना चाहिए, ये करना चाहिए, वो होना चाहिए, ये करना चाहिए. These topics have no end, right? These topics have no end, right? So we should be thinking how, rather than discussing about this platform, we should raise ourselves and think about how the whole society who is in the dark ignorance can be elevated a little bit, isn't it? But
Rather, there is discussion of the qualities, forms, and
pastimes.
pastimes of the Supreme Lord, whose praise and worship with full attention.
Okay, so what we should discuss is a Rupa, Guna, Nama, Leela of the Supreme Lord, right? That is, I'll give you a simplest example. See, the beauty of this world, when somebody sees, it agitates his heart. But when you see the beauty of the deities, beauty of Radha and Krishna, beauty of Lord Shri Krishna and his wonderful photographs and picture, what happens? Actually, that material fever subsides, comes down, right? Isn't it? So this is what gives a solace to our soul. Yeah. But
By which one can cut the meetings in the details and end the vicious cycle of reincarnation and return back home, back to the world.
this is the exactly the sum and substance of why somebody reincarnate, because he has so many unnecessary desires, material desires, and to fulfill that material desires, he has to acquire the material body, and he's making so many material bodies. Only when he makes a spiritual desires, he'll be free from the incarnation. मतलब क्या? हमको भी कोई desire रखना ही नहीं चाहिए. Desire रखो, but that should be with the spirituality. Let's say, simplest I will tell you. Okay, you like to eat good. Okay, Ayush, bata. What's your favorite dish? Okay, or Western में? नहीं, मतलब I'm saying not only when you go to the Western countries, but sitting in India, which is your favorite Western cuisine. Okay, bread. Okay, olive bread. Do you like olive bread? Okay. Which else? Something else? Okay, any other? Any other? Pasta. Pasta you like, right? So pasta you like, right, Ayush? Okay, Italian pasta, right? White sauce or tomato sauce? So, but there's a white sauce or tomato sauce? Without sauce is not a pasta. Okay. So, so the point I'm saying is, let's say if somebody wants to have pastas and Italian cuisine, pizzas, right? So it is not a, as long as if you're saying that I want to eat, and you go out and eat anywhere, anything, not recommended. So that's still a material desire. Not recommended because this is a material desire, right? But if somebody wants to eat, but he offers to the Lord, right? Offer to the Lord and take back, right? It becomes what? Prasad. Right? Whether it's aloo paratha or pasta, right? It becomes a prasad. So having that and testing that becomes not a material desire now. It has spiritual desire, right? It has become spiritual desire. So that's what. If somebody wants to earn money, have a good job and career, have a good family life, have a good apartment, have a good car, vehicles, whatsoever. But don't keep it just for your material things out of envy and making a show off to the other peoples. No, but utilize it to the Krishna service. How? Make your home, make your home center around Krishna. Good picture, right? I had seen, I go to so many devotees' house. In the main hall, they keep wonderful altar of Lord Shri Krishna. बाकी लोगों के में क्या रहता है? सेंटर में क्या रहता है? Very good. सेंटर में क्या रहता है? Center of the family is what? However they say, नहीं हमारा center of the family is what? Actual television. तो अभी तो इतना हो गया है, अभी सबको अलग अलग टेलीविजन कर दिया है. हाँ तुम तुम्हारे बेडरूम में जाओ, तुम्हें उसके लिए झगड़ा मत करो. मतलब they are not even united also, right? So where did I lost my discussion? The point I was saying, yeah, spiritual desire and material desire. So we should cultivate. We should know how to connect it to Krishna. Actually, no matter cannot be used into Krishna service. We can utilize, but we should know under the guidance of somebody, right? And in the guidance of somebody. And some things are used into Krishna service by best way by avoiding it. ये तो कल को बोलेंगे हाँ वो कौन सा फोर स्क्वायर नहीं रेड स्क्वायर क्या होता है वो बिल्स फोर स्क्वायर is also brand right okay so cigarette brands right how can I use it into the Krishna service right how can I use it in Krishna service as everything can be used in Krishna service no best way is to not to use it that's how you can use it into Krishna service right okay अभी आगे समझ में so otherwise all these things have a hook and attachment that will generate the body ahead right that will we have to come back to this material world again to suffer of all those adharmic activities and anything related to the matter we have to come back right is nothing one of my friends used to get surprised how do you offer cake to the Lord बोले क्या हुआ बोला अरे भगवान को ऐसा केक थोड़ी ट्रेडिशनली खिलाना चाहिए बोला तुम खाएगा तो चलेगा तुम खाएगा तो चलेगा the Lord is owning everything he's just not owning the India he's owning the whole world right so why should not we offer we should be offering right he owns everything those people who in the China they are devotees they offer and they offer those two sticks instead of spoons, yeah, chopsticks. Chopsticks, right? And there the Lord eats with the chopsticks. The Lord is expert at everything, and Lord can devour everything, right? Yeah? So He owns everything. So we should not be bothered about that,
What? Speaking of cake, I just saw the series of Bhakti Today YouTube channel. So that the importance of Mahaprasad is they offer cake and Amogila Prabhuji comes and inspires everyone to, Bhagavad Gita take as a way of life actually.
Okay.
We've seen that it's a
Yeah. So actually, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he says, whatever you are eating, offer it to me, and that's how it becomes a karma-free food, right? Right. Otherwise, we are just eating a karma, right? So that's why we should offer and eat. Okay. Now you may be very junior most in your family and in your houses. Don't start instructing your mother and your uncle and aunts, right? They will shoot you back and they will stop your coming to the temple. So you should, according to the time, place, circumstances, you should adjust the situation, right? Don't start demanding because that's not your age, right? Okay, all right. But keep in heart that you have to. So smart. So when you come to the saintly people, what is important of saintly person is topic to be discussed is it says sadhu sanga sarva shastra hoy. Lava matra sadhu sanga sarva siddhi hoy. Even just that is a verdict of the scriptures. It says sadhu sanga, sadhu sanga. With the association of the devotees, the scripture says even at just a moment's association with the devotees, right, with the pure devotees, one can attain the success of life. Narad Muni was once had gone to the Yamraj, and he said, "Okay, give me the tour." So he said, "Okay, I will show you the tour." And he was there was like a underground tunnels. Okay, so Narad Muni was taking the tour, and he just peeped into the one of the tunnel, and he saw there were this Yamadutas were torturing a person for because he has committed something adharmic activities, right? And just when he was looking at Narad Muni, just having darshan of Narad Muni, uh, he was released, and he went to the spiritual abodes. That was the scriptures quotes that. That is the association of pure devotees. Narad Muni is 24/7. What is doing? Narayana, or he says, Narada Muni bajaye bina Radhika Ramana name. Radhika Ramana, Radhika Ramana, Radhika Ramana name. Narada Muni bajaye bina Radhika Ramana. He's always singing the glories of Radha and Krishna into his heart and heart. In a Vrindavan, when Narad Muni want to enter into the Vrindavan pastimes of the Lord, where Krishna with his Gopa friends, with his Radharani, with his Gopi friends, they are serving, all of them are serving Krishna, right? So Narad Muni wants to entrance into that. And says, Narad Muni is not allowed, right? Although he is such a great devotee, but they are not allowed. So greater than Narad Muni is actually the Brajavasis, because their heart and soul is sold out for Krishna. They are so much absorbed beyond even, more than even Narad Muni. That's how. Even Shivaji wanted to enter and see that. Okay. But he was not given entrance. Later, they gave entrance, but that entrance, then he takes a roop of a gopi. And that's how there's a one Shivaji temple in Vrindavan as well as Gopeshwar Mahadev, right? Gopeshwar Mahadev is decorated like a gopi, right? Okay. So such is the association of saintly people like a Narad Muni. So Vrindavan, Brajavas, we go Vrindavan for not sightseeing. We go Vrindavan for what? Associating with the saintly people. Yes, we don't go Vrindavan with carrying on our Mumbai mentality of taking photographs and taking these things and taking that thing, selfies and these things and that thing, right? But to understand and elevate our spiritual consciousness by meeting the saintly devotees and hearing. Okay. So, so Jada Bharata's words of wisdom. Jada Bharat was teaching the lessons that what is the lesson he was taking? Jada Bharata, he tolerated all the duties, whether it is heat or cold, insults or praises. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhada Matra Spashastu Kaunteya. They were saying that even if it is a heat or cold, even if it is a palatable or not palatable food, but you should always remain Krishna conscious, not just get affected by all these things, right? Sometimes people say, okay, it is too much of winter, it is too much of cold. मैं ना chanting बाद में करता हूँ, फिर बाद में करते करते वो रह ही जाता है. Sometimes it's so hot, and people have their own reasons. People have their own reasons for not to doing the chanting. Sometimes the food is not delicious, or sometimes things, or sometimes this is not pleasurable for me. This is very painful for me, right? And people get away from the distracted from the spiritual life, right? So we should understand one thing, we have to tolerate these phenomena of this and go on. Let's say you have to say you have to rise ahead into the ladder. Let's say if there is a fire in the room and somebody throws a ladder, right, to escape you out, right? So when the ladder is thrown, while you're climbing the ladder and somebody gives you bad words, what do you do? रुक जा, मैं बताता हूँ. Will you? तुमको पता है नीचे fire है, right? I have to what focus upon? How do I come out of this, right? These insults and all these things doesn't matter. That's what Jada Bharat was. If anyone is insulting me or whatever bad words is giving me, it doesn't matter to me. Let me concentrate on my spiritual elevation. That is more important, right? So intelligence means to quit that room which has a fire. So this Jagat is called as Samsar Dava Navalid Loka, right? Jwala, right? It is a burning fire, it's a forest fire, right? And that's what we should think of. We should not get why this person is not saying or speaking to me, why this person is speaking me like this, he's torturing me. Just tolerate just for some period. Just tolerate for some period and get out of this world, right? For the spiritual. Okay, so that's what the Jada Bharat is teaching. What is the what is his teaching into the body of a deer? 4 things I remember. I told you. Association. He kind of went to the Pulashra ashram. He left his birthplace and went to the for the association of devotees. Second thing, he had no attachment to his birthplace. He looked for association and no attachment. Third is austerity. He was just sitting on dry grass. Fourth thing is he was repentant about his previous life, right? And these are 4 lessons from the dear life. Then the lessons from Bharat Maharaj is right time that you have to leave your duties, right? And take up to the spiritual career and consciousness, right? Focus upon Krishna. Simple, smallest thing can distract us, and we have to pay so much, right? So we should not be getting distracted and we should be alert. Okay. 2.2. This will be our last quiz of this series. What is discussed in the assembly of pure devotees? Option A, discussion only of the pastimes, qualities, forms, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. True. B is discussion on politics, sociology, economical development, etc., etc. No, that is not topic to be discussed. C, even though it may be important for somebody, right? For somebody as a profession or something, you should do just for the profession, right? C, discussion on the glories of king and their qualities and pastimes. Kings. No, right?
No.
Kings के लिए हम नहीं कर रहे, right? We don't praise somebody, prince of the Bahrain or somebody like that, you know. So they are the kings, right? We don't keep on singing, but just because he's a position of a king, we don't start glorifying him and talking about his pastimes and all these things. It is actually just a part of a history, right? So yeah, history is history. D is discussion on the Supreme Lord who is praised and worshipped with the full attention. Yes. True. So A and D. Okay. Good enough. Okay. And lastly, these were the lessons. This is the last slide. Lessons from the 3 lives of Bharat Maharaj. Lessons from Jada Bharat is Jada tolerated all dualities, heat and cold, insults and praises. And lessons from the deer is he was association. He was looking for association. He had no attachment. He was austerity. He was repenting over his past. And lessons from Bharat Maharaj is focus on Krishna and the right time to leave the material duties and building up the spiritual consciousness. Okay. Further, what is King Rahuguna was given the good knowledge, and Jada Bharata he actually continued his Vaishnava life. And then
There was no
no, never, no way, because he was so alert this time and he was making all precautionary measures not to repeat any mistakes. Right?
Clear the
And
exam.
that's it. Yeah, clear the exam. Clear the exam. Yes.